Time now for the world this week. The world this week, it's time for its 7 days for Paris-based correspondents, 1 hour. We're in the company of Mira Kamdar, the editorial board of the International New York Times. Welcome back. We say hello as well to Pierre Haski, who is the editor-in-chief of the digital news website, Rue 89, 89th Street.
Yes.
89 like in 1789.
Like in 1789,
Okay.
yes. And many other 89s.
Okay. Andre Neto, Paris correspondent for O Estado de São Paulo, the daily newspaper out of Brazil. Welcome back.
Thanks
and welcome back to Giulio Bono of Internet Without Borders. The World This Week, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, #World This Week. Thanks to the ouster of his predecessor over budgetary improprieties, Michel Temer is no longer just Brazil's acting president. He'll serve out the remainder of that term. But as it stands, the next time there's a presidential election, you won't see Temer run because he himself is under investigation over corruption claims that have tainted both prosecution and defense, it seems, in that Senate trial of Dilma Rousseff. It's Friday. The dust is starting to settle. Andre Neto, how will history remember this week?
That's a good question. I have many doubts how history will register all of these events in this week. I think it's a pretty bad moment for Brazil, and no matter the side you take in the whole story, personally, I'm against the impeachment. I don't think it's a good idea. But I respect people who say that it's not a coup d'etat. So I think the Constitution has so many breaches that this kind of event is possible in Brazil. I don't think it's a good solution, but anyway.
Seen from abroad, we don't understand it.
Me neither. Actually,
you must have an idea.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. Actually, the situation is very complicated. We had this coalition between the Workers' Party and the centrist party PMDB, which is represented by Michel Temer in the coalition, and this coalition broke. And we had this clash against between Dilma and Temer for 1.5 years, and that's the end of the story. The whole impeachment thing, it's a matter of two different ways of seeing the country disputing the power.
Pierre Haski, your thoughts on Brazil, which just a few years ago was the country that put the B in BRICS. It was this emerging giant.
It was really the darling of the emerging world because it was both energetic and democratic, contrary to China or Russia among the other BRICS. So it came really as a shock. And the most shocking thing, I mean, like you, I'm an outsider and I look from very far away. But the most shocking thing is the number of people who are under investigation among the people who overthrew Dilma Rousseff. And so the legitimacy of the whole process, when you have people who are more or less accused of the same thing, who kicked the president out and saying, you know, your hands are dirty when their own hands are not necessarily very clean, I think it augurs not very well for the follow-up to this crisis.
Or you could make the counter-argument saying it's a sign of a strong judiciary.
No, I think it's a weak political life, and I think it really could pave the way for some surprises in the next elections, whether the parliamentary elections, which I think are coming in 2 years, and the presidential elections afterwards. And it's not a very good sign of health for a democratic process.
And before that, there's municipal elections. We're getting reports, polls saying that splinter left-wing parties could do well, and evangelicals as well.
Well, I mean, you know, there are a lot of people who are suddenly disenfranchised by this. I mean, this government was elected by popular mandate, and the left has been in power now successfully until quite recently.
For 13 years.
For 13 years, and has done a lot of good. 29 million people lifted out of poverty. Now all of that is kind of in question. The economy is in trouble. And as Pierre pointed out, I mean, the accusers are all accused of themselves of being involved in this corruption scandal around Petrobras. And in fact, it's even worse than that, because Dilma Rousseff herself was not accused specifically of corruption, right? She was accused of kind of playing with the budget to hide something, but the charges against her are in fact less grave than the charges against some of those who've kicked her out.
Right. You're innocent until proven guilty, but she was the chair of the state-owned oil company Petrobras for a while, so she must be in the know to a certain degree. What's your view of Dilma Rousseff?
Well, I think she wrote when she was impeached that we witnessed, I mean, the world witnessed and Brazil witnessed a sexist, homophobic, and racist coup. Well, seeing pictures of the new government, one can hardly disagree, at least on the sexist and probably the racist part, because considering the fact that Brazil is a country with 53% of Afro-Brazilians or Afro-descendants, it's quite surprising to have only men mid-50s as member of the government. But this said, as Pierre was suggesting, what will happen to the B of BRICS? We know that the PT had started to implement certain programs for a more integrated South-South cooperation. I remember, for instance, the New Development Bank, which was created to, counter the influence of the IMF within the Greater South. I also think of, in terms of new telecommunications, of a submarine cable, which was underway also in between Cameroon and Brazil. So West African and eastern shores of Latin America. So what will happen to these programs? And I remember that I think Temer political party was not necessarily in favor of this integration. I was probably more interested in integration within South America and tying more with the northern part of the continent. So yes, there are lots of questions, and most importantly, as it was said earlier, this government will definitely have to be, more virtuous than virtue itself, because Dilma was not accused herself of being corrupted. She just inherited of a system that has been existing for the past 13 years, and even before the PT came to power. So,
all right, it highlights a glaring polarization that is steeped in history when it comes to Brazil. When she stated her case before the Senate, she harked back to her days of struggle under the dictatorship.
Por duas vezes, vi de perto a face da morte. Quando fui torturado.
I've been face to face with death twice in my life. When I was tortured for days, submitted to acts they committed which made us doubt humanity and the sense of life, and when a serious and extremely painful disease might have ended my existence. Today, I only fear the death of democracy.
And she fears the death of democracy. But let me ask you, Andre Neto, because there are a lot of countries that have come out of dictatorship and gone into democracy. We can think of Spain, we can think of Chile, where people position themselves as to who was for or against the past dictator. Is this the way Brazilians see themselves today in 2016?
Actually, to understand what is going on, we have to look at the Brazilian history. In the last 90 years, we had 5 elected presidents, 5 that went to the end of their term. So the others were ousted by coup d'etats or impeachments. So we have this political system that is a mix of presidentialism and parliamentarism. And we have some clauses in the Brazilian constitution that opened the way to impeach presidents in very, even in controversial circumstances like we are facing now. So the political system is unstable. To understand the Brazilian political scenario, we have to understand that the political system is unstable. Just like the Italian is unstable, just like France used to be in the Fourth Republic.
Okay, so the system is unstable, but is there a younger generation coming up that's saying enough of these these old battles that you're fighting?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that the public opinion understand what is going on in terms of how deep the crisis is. I mean, we are able to face the day-by-day crisis, the political events, the economic turmoils, but we're not able, for now at least, to think deeply how to change the political system and to stabilize the country. That's the main question for the coming years, I think.
Julia Obono, worrying about the impact it's going to have on the region and the world. Allies of the Workers' Party are angry. Bolivia, Ecuador, Venezuela recalling their ambassadors to Brazil.
We will not abandon the people of Brazil, so I have immediately ordered the definitive withdrawal of the Venezuelan ambassador to Brazil and the review of all political and diplomatic relations with the country.
The definitive recall. President Maduro, by the way, has his own troubles. Those remarks on the eve of a mass demonstration by the opposition. They claim there were 1 million people in the streets of Caracas on Thursday. They want the Electoral Commission to approve a recall referendum of the president before the end of the year. Afterwards, the ruling Chavistas, in power since 1999 in Venezuela, would get to hang on. There seems to be this swing against the left, Pierre Aski, in Latin America.
Yes, a few years ago, there was this kind of overall pinkish flavor over Latin and Central America with social democratic or more left-wing governments. Venezuela was obviously and the Chavez was the most firebrand of the lot. But you had this very left-wing turn, and it seems that everything has turned sour, which I think we have to look deeper into it. I think there's a kind of a change overall in the world of this phase in the globalization process has destabilized many parts of.
What do you mean by this
world.
phase of the?
I think we are in a different phase of the international economy. For example, Brazil has had a big boom thanks to the Chinese demand. China today has a growth that's about half of what it was 5 years ago, and its demand for raw materials is far less, and this has had an impact all over the world. And maybe these governments have based a lot of their strategy on a kind of continuous demand. Obviously, the price of oil is one of these elements. And I think a lot of these situations, I mean, Venezuela is today more than bankrupt. I mean, I don't know what's the word beyond bankruptcy, because 98% of its economy is based on oil, on the price of oil, and the price of oil has completely collapsed. So these governments have had have great expectations, have created great expectations, and today they are not able to deliver.
All right. It's been described as going from point A to point A. Donald Trump accepting Mexico's invitation to see the president, playing nice in the company of Enrique Peña Nieto. Then, after his trip to Mexico, flying to Arizona, where the Republican nominee for U.S. president was very much back on message.
We will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall. And Mexico will pay for the wall. They don't know it yet, but they're going to pay for the wall.
Mira Kamdar, they don't know yet, but they're going to pay.
They don't know yet, but they're going to pay. But the problem is, of course, if Trump is elected, everybody will pay. Nobody's going to pay for a wall. There's no way that can be constructed. 11.4 million illegal aliens, immigrants in the United States can't possibly be expelled overnight. It would have a devastating impact on the U.S. economy, for one thing. And the whole thing is just absurd, but he's been able to turn this into a kind of scapegoat whipping boy that he keeps trotting out and, getting people all excited about. But, it was pure theater that on Wednesday when he flies to Mexico, he has a photo up with the president.
Wait, talk me through this, because when the day begins, how did you think it was going to play out? Did you think it was going to be exactly the way it did?
I thought maybe that President Peña would maybe be a little firmer in public vis-a-vis Trump, given the way that Mexico's been insulted by him, but he wasn't. Later he said, "Oh well, in private, I was firm that Mexico was not going to pay for anything, and that we don't accept his programs." But in public, there was just like this neutral photo op thing. It was very odd, and Trump, behaved as presidentially as he's been able to behave so far. But then there was, this Jekyll and Hyde thing where, he on the plane somewhere maybe over the border, he transformed back into the Donald Trump we know and repeated all the things that he's said before.
What does it say about the president of Mexico?
That's a good question. I think he's clearly unpopular, according to my level of information. But I think it means a lot about how Mexico feels regarding the United States and the American presidents. There is this asymmetrical relationship that is not fair regarding the Mexican people. I think it's pretty embarrassing for the president, actually.
Julia Wono?
Yeah, well, it was very surprising considering what Trump has already said in the past, which was quite shocking and shocked many people.
The Mexican president said, we're the neighbors of the United States. We're going to meet with both candidates.
Yes.
Was he right to invite Trump?
I mean, he's a neighbor of the United States. He has to he will have to work with either of whoever is elected. But what's interesting is this, as you were saying, this sort of schizophrenia from Trump. In the morning, you're more, you're a politician, and in the evening, you're a va-t-en-guerre, like they say in French. And I think it's a proof of how far populism can go in a majority system, which is with a radical speech in terms of like the ones we've heard during Trump's meetings. You cannot rally more than those who really are convinced or those who are really against the system. At some point, you will have to go and reach out to the moderates, and you cannot do that without having this double speech. In the morning, you're moderate, and in the evening, you're saying everybody go out of the U.S. So, and that's also probably what explains why Trump, until recently, has not been able to go above, I think, 45% of the intentional votes.
We're going to talk about the polls when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching The World This Week in partnership with The Daily Beast. We'll speak to the Daily Beast foreign editor, Christopher Dickey, who's in Washington on that matter. Stay with us.